Hey everybody, I am back here with y'all on this beautiful Thursday night. It's cooled down. We had a ton of rain last night. I hope everybody was okay because it was a little strange to me because it was thundering and lightning and raining, and then the sky was clear and we had some fog, and then we had a little bit of clouds, but it was also clear a little bit. So there's a lot going on yesterday. And yeah, I just it's been a wild day too as well. Everybody is ramping up for the holidays. You can really tell it in town, and I want everybody to be safe out there. Drive safe. Don't have road rage. Um, a lot of ambulance. See a lot of ambulances. A lot of cop cars. Don't be an angry shopper. So let's just celebrate the holidays like they were supposed to be celebrated with love, giving, and being kind to each other. So I want to emphasize that. We're talking here too about everybody has a thorn. So um, Paul had the lesson previous to this was talking about Paul had a thorn. Um, he asked God 3 times to remove it. You know what I'm saying? Just makes me think, y'all. Just bear with me. So God, he asked God 3 times to remove the thorn. And God let him know, I'm not going to remove that thorn. That thorn is what kept him humble. Um, said, was his thorn in his flesh, a messenger of Satan to buffet me, lest I be exalted above measure. God knew what it took to make and keep Paul humble. And Paul knew what? Paul knew what it would be like if he was, um, if he didn't have anything to humble him. Sometimes God has to humble us, y'all. Sometimes God has to humble us. Sometimes God has to keep us where He can still use us. Because guess what? If Paul would have been exalted above so much measure, and people would have just blowed his head up, maybe God couldn't have used him as much. So Paul had such great faith that when he prayed, sick people were healed and dead were raised. Yet when he prayed repeatedly that God would remove that thorn in his flesh, God said no. Why? To keep him humble and make him totally dependent on God. And y'all, we have to be dependent on God, whether we got a thorn in the flesh or not. How hard is it? How hard is it though? How hard is it as a human being, for me, for you, all of us, to be humble when we got the whole world in the palm of our hands? We feel like God knows what we can handle. God knows what we can't handle. Some of us can handle being famous. Some of us can handle having everything we need. Some of us can handle having all of our needs met and still knowing who it was that gave it to us. Some of us aren't. I mean, I don't know. Maybe God saw us and loved us enough not to let us be destroyed by the things that we could love more than Him. And that's hard to say. Because that puts us in our place and lets us know that we ain't all that. That lets us know that we're not as good Christians as, I mean, we think we're so high and mighty a lot of times, but God's like, no, I'm going to humble you. No, I'm going to keep you in your place. I'm going to put you in your place. I mean, it bothers me. It bothers me sometimes to think about, because I don't ever want to have so much. I don't never want to replace God with things. Let me put it like that. I don't ever want to replace God with things. I hope and pray that I wouldn't. And right now, even when God does the small things for me, I mean, even when God does the small things for me, y'all, like I see His hand move, and I'm humbled. Um, I just I realize that I'm not in control. When I see His hand move on situations that I'm like, I don't know how this is going. I mean, I saw it again today, y'all. Again, I tell y'all time and time again that God moves and so much for me, and I'm like, it's usually a phone call, an email, a message, something, and God's just showing up. But, and I hope it sticks with somebody. But the thing that's the difference that I know that God looks at me and even gives me any time and attention about it is that I don't stop. Where some people may give up, they don't see a way. They may give up. They may get weary about a situation, about something that's happening, and give up. You know, if you give up, how's God gonna move when you give up? Because see, God moves in our situations when we're facing a situation. But if we give up, if we're going from here, and we stop before we get to the end, how is God gonna show up and show off from here to here? How is He gonna show off, carry you through to the end if you give up? Because God won't give up on you, but what we do sometimes, we give up on ourselves. So I want to make sure that we realize that you know, God doesn't give up on us. We usually give up on ourselves, and when we give up on ourselves, how we expect God to move. So think about that, church. But Paul had that thorn in his flesh, and he asked God 3 times to remove it. God said no. God said, "My grace is sufficient for you, for my strength is made perfect in weakness." So when we're feeling sick, when we're feeling weak, that's when God is like, that's when His strength has been shown. That's when His glory has been shown. So let's talk about be strong in the Lord and His power of His might, Ephesians 6:10. So Paul tells us 2 things about his thorn. First, that it was a messenger of Satan sent to buffet him. The word buffet means to render blow after blow after blow. That's a buffet. That just is where it keeps on bothering you. It was not one battle, but a series of back-to-back attacks that didn't let up. Satan knows your weaknesses, and he knows your weakest areas. When you were out in sin, what did you do? Think about it. Automatically, you know what it was, right? Guess who else does? Satan, because you were dancing with the devil, right? And he will repeatedly attack you in those areas. Just because you got saved and got delivered doesn't mean the devil is going to be like, all right, that's not anything for him anymore. He knows we're still in our flesh. He knows we're still not perfect. And guess what? He's going to come back time and time again and try to see if he can get in between those any chink in your armor that God's put up. He knows that. Well, at times we get weary. At times we get weak. And he's going to see if he can find any chink in your armor, any spot in your armor that's weak, that he can go in there and try to mess with you. So how can we defeat him when he does that? The Bible says, "Be strong in the Lord and in the power in His mighty power." But Put on all of God's armor so that you'll be able to stand firm against all the strategies of the devil. For we fight not against flesh and blood enemies, but against evil rulers and authorities of the unseen world, against mighty powers in this dark world, and against evil spirits in the heavenly places. And I have been researching that. I have been learning more and more about fighting these enemies. They're real, they're strong, they love to take over regions. They love to take over areas. They love to take over large places and put their the emphasis on what they want to happen in the area. Sin City. We got places that are called Sin City. We got an area called Sin City at Las Vegas. Guess what? There's a lot of sin happens there. Guess what? There's principalities and evil spirits in the area that have a lot of power in the area and that control a lot of what happens in the area. That's why when you go to these places, you have the atmosphere there. You can go to an area and feel the atmosphere. And guess what? The atmosphere is just not because of the people. It's also because of the influence that these evil spirits have in these areas. Because it's not flesh and blood enemies we war against. It's against evil rulers, authorities of the unseen world, mighty powers in this dark world, and against evil spirits in the heavenly places. They're up. They're moving around. Second, that the thorn was in his flesh. You are a regenerate spirit living in an unregenerate body. That's why the Bible commands us to crucify the flesh, starve the flesh, and refuse to give it the impulses of the flesh. This flesh is impulsive. This flesh wants, it sees something. It likes it. It wants it. It's like calm 1 second and in control and focus 1 second, and then all of a sudden you've lost focus. That's what happened. Look at what happened to David. He was all right. He was on top of the world. He was awesome. He was the king that had conquered all his enemies. They conquered all his enemies. And then guess what? He got relaxed and he was on top of a rooftop, and he might be outside even praising God. And what happened? Whoop! He saw a woman. Was changed so much of his destiny for him and his family. Just like that. Because guess what? I'm trying to remember. I think it was in the Bible said that evil would be with him, or that he had brought evil into his home or something like that. But it was where David did wrong, and God was like, nah, you did this thing, you did it on purpose, you tried to hide it, and guess what? You're gonna pay for it, and guess what? There's gonna be some bad things happen in your house because of this, because of you being selfish and you want what you want and trying to do what's wrong and get away with it. So we starve flesh, and in God's strength you can do it. By his divine power, God has given us everything we need for living a godly life. We have received all of this by coming to know him, the one who called us to himself by means of his marvelous glory and excellence. And because of his glory and excellence, he has given us a great and precious promises. These are the promises that enable you to share his divine nature and escape the world's corruption caused by human desires. We have desires as humans. Our flesh does not worry about everlasting life because it's going to burn up. It's going to die. It's going to decay. Our flesh is going to be destroyed. This whole world God's going to have to redo this whole world. So this flesh is going to go away. I don't know how God's going to destroy this whole world and make it again new heaven and a new earth, he said. I don't know how that's going to be, but guess what? The flesh that is this corruptible flesh is going to put on incorruptibility. And what's going to happen is this is going to be, I don't know if he's going to purge the world with fire, or if he's going to just redo a new, I don't know. But this year is going to be destroyed. So it don't worry about eternity. So you need to think about that. Your flesh doesn't worry about eternity because it ain't gonna be there. It ain't got to endure eternity. You make sure your soul is right with Jesus Christ. Make sure your spirit's right. I work every day on me. Sometimes I feel like every day that I fall. I feel like every day I do something that God's not pleased with, and I have to come to myself and realize, like Paul, just realize that I'm not perfect, that I definitely have flaws, that I definitely have to work on myself every day. And I'm tell you what, there's days when I just am like, you know what? I'm so glad today that I trust Jesus Christ for my salvation, because if I didn't trust the Lord today for my salvation, I'd be somewhere where I had no business being. But I trust him for my salvation. I trust him with my life, and I trust him with my eternity. And so I know that what I have to do is consciously make a decision to follow Jesus Christ. And I think that's where we need to be at, ladies and gentlemen. I think we need to consciously make that effort every day to say, all right, I'm going to do my best. I'm going to let God do the rest. But guess what? I've got to consciously make that decision to be a good person. Because God ain't going to grab you by your ear every day and pull you which way he wants you to go. He gives us a choice. That's that free will. Even the angels in heaven had free will. And guess what they did? They fell. They were in heaven, y'all, and they fell. We have to make sure that we're on guard against the enemy, make sure that we stay humble, make sure that we do the things that we need to do for God, and then just realign ourselves with God and his word as much as possible. Sometimes you have to snap out of whatever funk you're in, whatever high you're on, because you think you're this and that and all, and a bag of chips. And guess what? I know that. Hey, Joanna, cousin Johanna there. But look, just make sure that you are just staying in line with Jesus Christ, that you're following him, that you're doing what you know you need to do with him, and just make sure that you're not missing anything because you got high, you got haughty in yourself. You think you're doing everything that everything's happening because of you, because you're so strong, because you're so smart, because you're the best at whatever. God had put that thorn in Paul's side to keep him humble, and God loved him that much to do that. But let's ask God to continue to keep us humble, continue to just remind us where we come from and where we are and what we wouldn't even be without him, and ask him just to continue work on us. God, mold me every day. God, every day that I'm here, just remind me how insignificant I am, God, without you, and that how every breath is because of you. How every moment I'm alive, God, is that you've allowed me to be here. I watched a preacher the other day who was on the stage and he was preaching, and his last words were, I think, were thank you, Jesus, and then he just fell dead on the at the podium on the stage, just fell dead. And some people may think that was cruel. Why would God do him like that? But what other way than what better way to go out and giving praise to God, giving his word, putting his word forth, and doing what you can for God's kingdom. I mean, we've got to stand up, church. We've got to be the light. I've got to be the light. You've got to be the light. We've got to show that God is real. God is love. You may be the only Jesus that some people see, that some people know. And we're here in this season that people are running around and not even thinking about Jesus and what the season is about. And they may just need a reminder. So just show some, if you get a second, God pricks it on your heart, just to show somebody love. Show somebody love. Let them know Jesus loves them. Let them know that ain't it good that we can celebrate like this and celebrate the reason for this season of giving and showing love to Jesus Christ, and love and appreciation for him coming, and appreciation for people that love him. We come together and serve him. So let's do that, y'all. But look, I love y'all. Have a good evening. We'll see you again. Merry Christmas. Good night.